So our next speaker today is Kris Glabinski. He's the VP of Europe at Aggregate Intelligence.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me just launch that. So welcome everybody, and thank you, Christian, for inviting me for that speech. We're going to be talking about the trends of product development in 2023. So let's see how that goes. I was really thinking about what to present today and how to approach this. But before I tell you what I did, let me just introduce myself a little bit. So out of that virtual conference room, I am located in here. My name is Kris Glabinski, and I'm responsible for product and strategy for a company called Aggregate Intelligence. And before I start talking about trends and product development, I have to tell you about what we do, because that influences on what trends we pay attention to and how we develop our product. So Aggregate Intelligence is a data company provided into travel and real estate industry. I'm responsible for the travel part. So what I will be talking about is everything that relates to travel. And we do big data. We process this data. We do business intelligence, and we do some scientific stuff on the data. And we cater our products to various different customers. We have enterprise level customers like global airlines, and we have local hotel managers who also use our products. So we have a wide range of different products. We have about 300 people team that all contribute to production of those products. So it's a quite an amazing business and experience. So the first thing when you think about trends, Jackson mentioned that already, is obviously ChatGPT. Wherever you go, ChatGPT is starting to change and influence anything from product development to sales and marketing and programming. Whatever you touch upon, there's ChatGPT influencing. And I think for the next couple of months and years, this is going to be a major feature. In fact, I was thinking, what should I be presenting today? And I thought I'm going to take it easy and just ask ChatGPT, create 20-minute presentation on the evolving trends of product development in 2023. And then guess what? I got a solution. I got a response. Get it in 8 slides. Slide 1, introduction. Next, you talk about agile methodology. Then you talk about remote teams, and then artificial intelligence, and then user experience design, collaboration tools, conclusion, and then questions and answers even was in that slide. So I thought, wow, this is so cool that if all the other members of who are presenting today will follow my kind of natural, lazy instinct, we're going to be talking about the same thing. So I thought that I will do something traditional, and I will use something traditional for us. So use my old manual intelligence to talk about the trends in the product development. So I'm going to start with this definition, my definition of what product development is. And it's actually a place where creativity collides with reality, which then collides with usability. And so what I mean by that is that creativity is what we do in order to think about what kind of features and what kind of products should we start thinking about, should we start producing, versus to how they are being accepted by our technology teams, production teams, which is the reality. So we may have lots of great ideas out there, but all of these ideas collide with how can we cope with that, product development teams, procedures, tools, and whatnot. And then even if we pass through that reality and we can come up with a product, then there's another collision coming up, which is the user part of collision, the usability. So in our approach to product development, we use these 3 as a major drivers for how we work, what we do, and what we produce. So let me go through each one of them: the creativity, the reality, and usability. In terms of creativity, what's happening out there? What are the trends? Creativity shapes the future. Every time we think about a new product and new features, we do think about the company's future perspective and also how that can influence customers' future perspective. But what we need to realize is that every creativity is shaped by the past. So Jackson also mentioned that from his past, he's got great super experience that drives into the future. And we've got experience ourselves, and the way we create for the future is very heavily influenced for what happened in the past. Products that we have succeed with, products we have less success with. We went through all the different experiences you may imagine. So when we learn that the past shapes the future, we try to step out of that zone. And when we are becoming creative, we try to come up from the place where we think about innovation not shaped by the past. So we're trying to be conscious of that and think about how we can develop. The second thing is that the trend is that we are entering in a completely new creative phase of working. My traditional times was you get the team, you get the product, you sell the product, you exit, and that's it. That was fairly simple. But today, everybody's looking at raising communities, at collaboration, and that raises a whole new level of innovation. You have multiple people come in together. They're becoming like a mastermind who collaborate together, use different experiences and educations, etc., in order to be very innovative. And that trend is out there, and not only within the companies, but also in between the product producers and the product consumers. So when they both come together, that is a perfect collaboration where you have the customers and the production companies coming together to innovate. So we do also take that into consideration when we create our new products or functions or facilities, features. We try to reach out from our offices or virtual offices to see how we can collaborate within the communities. And then it's all about driving the impact now, changing the narrative or creating stories. Like, remember, we are a big data company and we have dashboards and visualizations and we're delivering really huge data, but that is no longer enough. What our customers are expecting is that we get the data, but unless it's got an impact on our company, it's kind of useless. And unless it's going to change our narrative or it's going to create a story for us that we can use. So our creativity goes from the traditional database, data structures and architectures thing into something that can make an impact or change narrative. For example, we learned that the airlines change prices few times per day in some certain periods of time. And that's something that was not recognized before, because usually the airlines would check the prices on a daily basis, and based on what they check, they change their own prices. So we changed the narrative of that. If we give appropriate visualizations to the customers where they can see that actually this is me on the market, this is what's changed on the market, I have not changed, etc., we are creating a story for them to take some actions. So whatever products we have, they have two meanings. One is the data or visualization of the data, and the second thing is, what does that mean to the customer? Is it actionable? Is it meaningful? And does it really affect their business? So that's part of the creativity that it changed basically in the last 3 years, to be honest, where people stepped out a little bit of looking at the past to see the future, because the past was already redundant. So they started to creatively looking at what's happening in the future, and whatever they have, it has to have an impact. And like I said, the last 3 years have pushed that creativity in the whole new era of experiences, and all the customers that we have look for experience with our product. If there's no experience, it's boring, it's big, too big, no thank you. So it needs to be that experience that creates this story, narrative, or an impact, but it needs to have a nice experience. So that brings in the user interfaces and the user experience into a whole new level for our creativity of thinking about the product designs. So once we have the creativity there, it's so cool that we push it to the reality, that materialization of the product, the whole line of all developers, tech people, engineers, data scientists, analysts, etc. And here we come across a lot of different experiences as well. There's challenges, there's successes, and there's a lot of learning that we go through. First of all, there are now different types of hard skills that are becoming important and needed. You're looking at full stack developers. You need you look for DevOps. You need for data scientists, data visualizations, and data analysts. All these roles were 3-4 years ago were kind of like a luxury. Now it's becoming like a basic part of your production team. And on the same hand, probably completely opposite, or maybe not, it's the low code and no code software developers who bring in a completely new air into the production lines and into the development teams, where they use things like ChatGPT or other artificial intelligence type of programming into what we already using. So that's the innovation trends that are within the production line. But also there is this still repeating, change the emphasis from big data on the cloud into a meaningful experience. So in reality, the production also turns in their focus into the meaningful user experience. And it's not that easy. We did a lot of things to see how best it can work, because the challenge is to find a complementing resources for our teams. Like I mentioned, we have 300 in-house engineers, developers, etc. But my biggest threat or biggest challenge is I don't know what I don't know. And the technology and the whole world is going in such a fast pace that I'm always afraid that I might be missing something. Now, I don't know if we're fast enough in production and in development. I don't know if the solutions we are using is good. I don't know if this database architecture is good enough, or maybe there's something out there. So we're looking at different resources to be on track, to see what's happening in the world. So we use outsourcing from time to time, and we use freelancers from time to time, where we can reach people who specialize in some specific fields of technology or engineering, where we can use them to help us implement the product, and at the same time have our teams learn as they work with them on how this really works and what that really is. So it's a very powerful learning for us to use different freelancers and outsource companies. We also do remote hiring, very trendy now in product development, and we can see how different cultures within an engineering can be. So we have the Asian teams, but we have teams in Europe and we have teams in USA, and all of them has positives and negatives. What some do well, some others may not, and vice versa. So we are complementing our production teams in between the cultures and in between the locations, and we benefit from that. But that's not really easy to do, because you don't read that in the book. You have to experience that, which is another thing, because experience takes time, and we are in a fast-paced, very competitive environment. And also what we realized, this whole market is so competitive for educated, technology-oriented engineers. There's so many tech companies with a lot of money out there that it's no longer becoming a nice thing to have employees employed. You have to go out and really look for good employees. And what we've started to realize, that the mindset tops up the education, to be honest, because all the teams that we have, traditionally, they would just take the project and program it, implement it, and that's it. Now we need teams that have a mindset of winning, of taking the challenges together, of going into those communities and collaborations, ChatGPT or GitHub or other ways of trying to get the knowledge and see how they can solve the problems. And that, having said that, company culture is starting to matter the most. We have so many, there's so many technology companies going out for new resources, that we really need to use that into we really use the culture in order to be more attractive for people, so that we can keep the teams together. So the last bit is usability, and that usability is the user, where there's an increased expectation of user experiences. We've mentioned that on the creative and reality side. Everybody's expecting a great experience, no matter where they come from. And as you know, everyone is experiencing the same thing at the same time in a different way. There's a conflict between functionality versus simplicity. So we all want to ramp up a lot of data, a lot of insights, and create all these dashboards, but that's overwhelming. People want to have simplicity, but also we don't know if they want the full functionality or not. And there's a growing trend for the need of natural cooperation with technology. You know, people prefer to use Facebook to ask what's the best steak place in Barcelona, rather than go through the research, go to TripAdvisor or something, look at the scores and read reviews. So the technology needs to change, the products that we make, they need to change in order to reflect that natural cooperation with technology. And I think ChatGPT is going to just boost and speed that up. And then the products are never best for everyone, because there's always something, and there's always this individual and personal interpretation. So what we use these trends that I have just mentioned is to create something that we call next best offer, or maybe a next best product. So let me tell you what next best offer is, in case you don't know. It's actually a marketing concept which refers to the idea of offering the customer the most relevant and attractive product. Obviously, marketing companies can go out there in e-commerce, do lots of analysis, behavior analysis, etc. So they know probably better what the customer is looking for than the customer itself. So the concept of the next best offer, the ABO, is to improve customer satisfactions and increase his lifetime, etc. That's the marketing. We've tried to use that term in order to apply it on the product development side, where most relevant features and functionalities should be prioritized based on customer needs. So how do we check the customer needs? The traditional approach is to create a proposition for a product, then attempt to find an interesting prospect for that and sell it. There's a linear kind of process of product development. Within the next best offer, obviously, we have customer as integrated and central part. But I'm not talking here about collaborative business intelligence, where we take the customer, make him a stakeholder of the product, and we design that. Or I'm not talking about a consultancy feature where we'll do something for you. This is what we advise. Let us know. What we're talking is, imagine a library of ideas. All the customers that we have, and in future that we will have, they all have the ideas and best practices around. So imagine that library of ideas that we currently have as a solution from our products or tailor-made products is already there. So think about the first level of the library is the airline part, the middle is the hotel part, the bottom is the rent-a-car part, and behind that library is a huge room of data. But the front end is anything you can pick from the library in order to see what suits you or not. So eventually, it's a community collaboration and creation, which is the part of creativity trend that we've discussed. It revolutionizes the development because it puts emphasis on the experience. So that's the realization part, reality part. And it's providing a natural cooperation with technology, which is the usability part that we've just said, where I'm asking a question, what's the most popular report from the receptionist of a medium hotel? And this is what it is. This is what all people already use. This is the top 5, etc. So eventually, our approach of the products, influenced by the trends, is an interactive, engaging, easy to understand, and 100% customizable representations of data. And that's really what we are doing. And that's an example of how the trends can influence the way our product development line is working.